Welcome to Ultimate Broadcast News Pack. First of all, thank you very much for buying this product. When you open the project, you have a couple of folders: news, theme, and other, weather, sports, audio, replace me, render outputs, and other 3 folders. So we will talk about each one of these. When you open a folder called news, theme, and other, you have also a couple of subfolders like news, theme, intro, coming next, countdown, etc. First folder, news, main theme, intro, is the intro animation, and after all of these main compositions, you have a word added, drag to timeline. What does that mean? So in the end of the project, you have this composition called timeline, final output. This is where you drag your compositions. For example, this main composition, which says drag to timeline. Just change this. And this is, excuse me, this is where you move your compositions and other elements for final output. Just below this composition, you have a composition called news main text. This is where you change your logo or text or whatever you want to add here for the main composition. We'll just change this to something. And when you go back to main composition, you will see that the text you added is now updated, as you can see. Next we have coming next folder. Same here, you have a composition called coming next info and main comp drag to timeline. So you can change this text layers and drag main composition to final output. Next we have countdown. Same goes here. You have composition called numbers. You can of course change these, change different font or whatever you like. Next we have lower thirds and other. So when you drag lower thirds composition, and you can see that you can change this text, and you have also a layer called BG lower third where you change these 2 colors. And when you select a composition in project panel, you can press command on Mac or control on PC D, so control or command D, to duplicate as many lower thirds as you like. Also you drag it to timeline and it will be fitted into place. Ticker text, when you open the composition ticker text, you can change this text and its color with these 2 layers, and it's a little bigger composition so you can see what's going on when the ticker is going, so it's a bit easier. But when you drag the main composition, only this will go, so this size will go on final output. Next we have an anchor's name, pretty self-explanatory. You can change this text. And the other info bar, also a couple of informations which you can change, and drag the main composition to the timeline. So let's just try all of these. We'll just add 1 lower third, drag it, it has to go above, and we'll add also ticker text main, and we will add also other info to the timeline. So as you can see, oh, we didn't drag ticker main. So you see all when you add this, everything is placed as it should be. That's about lower thirds. Next we have on the phone composition. Here is where you change when you have like live from studio, live from on the phone. You have compositions phone and studio is where you change these elements color and where you add your text, and of course placeholder is where you add your placeholder picture or whatever on first and second. Then we have over the shoulder main composition, which you also drag to timeline, and placeholder, which you add your image or media, and studio placeholder. So you can also, when you open one of these compositions, you can press Shift key, and then you see you can go back to this composition and finally to the main timeline. Next we have storyline. Info is where you change your text, and main composition drag to timeline. Studio field is the same like on the phone, so that is pretty self-explanatory. And finally we have transition, news transition. When we go to timeline, you can, when you drag news transition, let's zoom this a little bit, you have this marker called center. That is basically where the first clip ends and the second clip starts. So you have a smooth transition. Next, weather. Weather intro is same like news intro, so we won't talk about that. 7-day forecast. 7-day forecast, you have this one layer to change the title, and yeah, that's about it. And of course you have subfolders days and weather icons. Days, when you open a composition, for example Friday, you can change the text and bottom text and add animated weather icon. So let's say we want to add, let's delete this composition rain and add rain and thunder. We will just drag the composition rain and thunder here, and if you press S on the keyboard, this scale will show up, and you can scale this to match it a little bit and maybe move it up here. So that's about, and yeah, when you go back to 7-day forecast, it will be updated, and this is the composition you drag to timeline. Then we have lower thirds, basically just enter the text, and main composition is where you drag the composition to the timeline. Next you have temperatures by city. So weather temperatures by city. This is where you have only one text layer to edit, and then you have city names. You can type city name and add a weather icon. And you have weather transition, just drag to the timeline. Now let's move on to sports section. Sports intro, same like news intro and weather intro. Just change the text and everything will be updated. Lower thirds, same like other lower thirds. Other graphics, we have this composition called sports groups. This is basically what I made. It's like Europe Cup qualifiers, but you can add any information as you like. And also there is a composition sports results main comp. Let's just change this a little bit. You can add any sports team you like. You have these groups. It's regarding this sports group with the names, and team results with 16 teams here. But you can add your own. For example, when you open Champions League's results, if you open team results and you want to add them more, you would just press Ctrl D and then just drag your team name here and press S and scale, and just, you know, if you like that, or change this transfer mode to add, and you have it like basically everything. Them, just move them in time a little bit. That is regarding other graphics. Transition is the same, just drag transition to timeline. One important thing, when you want to change the colors of the main compositions, you go to main composition, for example in the news, and press select the layer color change, and just add your own colors. Regarding audio, I really recommend audio by D. Cooper. It is custom made music for this project. When you want to if you bought the project, you would just replace these solids, for example news countdown. You would just press right click on it, replace footage with file, and find the file with the same name, news countdown 04 short. We won't do that at the moment. Then you have render outputs. When you finish with adding your stuff on the timeline, select your desirable format and then just press composition, add to render queue, and render your animation. Next we have assets. You are not interested in that. Other compositions also, and solids also not. So I think that is basically it. If you have any questions, please email me and I will be happy to help. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Click the bell button and enjoy the latest uploads from our channel.